real nice attire. And we're just sitting there, and we don't realize how out of place we are until people just start sitting at our table. They're like, what's going on? And then come to find out, Big Tigger, we're sitting at his table. And so
yeah, y'all just come in like, I'm just gonna have a seat at any table. Oh, this looks good. It looks prestige. Let me just
yeah. And he's like, well, I don't think I know you guys. This is your table. I apologize, and we'll go ahead and get up. And he let us sit down. And that's something that stuck with me like forever in the industry, because it's those moments where like the cameras aren't on you. There's no one important that's really kind of judging how you handle a situation. And he humbly not only let us sit down, like he let us.
Welcome to another episode of the Strategy Room, where we find people that are doing their thing, successful at what they do, and we want to pull out the behind the scenes strategies. So I'm with one of the hottest, I don't want to say up and coming, because you right there. One of the top hottest artists, and if you didn't hear his name already, you might hear it by the time this interview pops off. But I want to welcome my guy Dvniel Benson. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing good, man. Feeling good today?
Yeah, I am.
All right, man. I love it. Well, first, shout out to you. You out in New York?
Yeah,
doing your thing, right?
Yeah, I am.
Man, one of the things, man, that I admire about you, man, is you have a good, genuine spirit. You could tell you really care. But man, when you hit it, when you singing, when you doing your artistry, you could tell your fans are really connected to you. They connected to the music, and they connected to you as a person. So I think that's dope. Yeah. For the folks who may not know you, I actually want to start. I'm gonna get to your story, but I want to start with, what's some of the most proudest accomplishments that you felt like you've been able to achieve or do in music so far, whether it's places you performed, the people you've met, or done songs with. Let's hear a little bit about that.
Man, thanks again for having me. Honestly, I think my proudest accomplishment that I am forever grateful for is meeting Wonder. DJ Boy Wonder, shout out to him.
Shout out to Wonder, let's go.
I've worked with like a lot of different producers, but working with him specifically kind of like just brought out that extra potential, inside of like my sound, and just challenging me, on the instrumentals and stuff to just be better every time. Shout out to my manager, Dizzy. Y'all know her from Color Me Dizzy.
Shout out to Dizzy in the building. Let's go.
Yeah, all hell up. But I really think that a lot of my memorable moments are like the failures. You know what I'm saying? I think that a lot of us, we don't talk about enough how it's okay to fail. It's okay to like have some letdown. It's okay to, go on certain things that you was just like, man, like, that was a waste of time. Like where there's like the pointless showcases or the talent shows or, just certain stuff like that really was just a gimmick for somebody else, to put extra dollars in their pocket.
Let's talk about that actually. Yeah. So your story, because you've got a chance to perform, you got a chance to meet and collaborate, with a lot of dope artists. You've been able to master your craft of being able. I think I seen you on a guitar, like you do different, like right, like you play instruments too, right?
I do.
So but talk about your story. Like, how did you get into music? Like, when did you really get into it? And at what point you was like, okay, I'm gonna take this serious? Because a lot of people want to do music, but they never really get into it.
Right. So it kind of was, man, that's such a long.
Okay, give us the short version. Yeah.
Short version was, honestly, I really kind of was always surrounded by music. I got a lot of family in the industry. I kind of grew up just starting with instruments. My big sister, she taught me how to play the keyboard when I was like, I think 5-6 years old. And that taught me like the fundamentals of notes. From there, graduated to playing the bass guitar. I saw a guy in church playing. I was like, I want that. My parents were like, no. And then my grandma was like, I'm gonna buy you that guitar. So, that's kind of how that happened. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to my grandma, rest in peace to her. But she definitely kind of set that train. I was self-taught for a while, and then eventually I moved up to acoustic, electric guitar, and I ended up being a part of this thing called Lions Club. And it was a thing where like a lot of big artists today actually was a part of that. There's a really popular videographer. The name of the company is called The Directors. and the owner of that is the Voice Box. The Voice Box, he's a mentor of mine from where I started. Like I was like, man, like 12, 13 years old, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I sounded like trash, but I thought I was hot, you know what I'm saying? So Lions Club, they really kind of like taught me to just like zone in on like that talent, what it means to write. My mom, after I developed like that skill, she kind of got me registered as a songwriter. So Daniel Benson, you know, that's my writer's name. That's one of them. I go under a lot of different other aliases because I've ghostwritten for a lot of artists and stuff too. Daniel Lamar is my stage name for who this artist is specifically.
Hey.
And it has like a lot of meaning behind that name as well.
Yeah, what is that? What does it mean? What does it mean to you?
So it's kind of funny. Daniel Lamar is actually my real name, Daniel Lamar. Daniel, the definition of it, if you Google this, it means God is my judge. Lamar has to do with being popular. So, kind of combining it together, God is the judge of my popularity. And the reason why it's so significant to me, even like the upside down A, it talks for me is like going the other way. Like everyone's like doing this, whatever. Like just be original, like be you, go the other way. Don't just do what everybody else is doing. And I think that putting a stamp on, yeah, God is the judge of how great this is going to be is limitless. Like it doesn't matter who you are, your status, or your skills of like trying to stop or whatever movement you might or might not want to happen. Like ultimately, God has the final say. So,
Okay.
that's a big part of the stamp on my name when you hear it.
Okay, so now what age is this? So you said you got registered as a what?
As a songwriter.
You got to register that. You got registered. By the way, I didn't even know you could get registered as a songwriter. I had no idea you could do that. Okay, so what does that mean? That you could write songs for other people, or what is that?
Yeah. So there's like a lot of it protects your work in a way, but it also allows you to be a part of different like workshops. I mean, it allows you to write whether known or unknown for other artists. And it just puts you in a community of writers. So a lot of people like let's take Bruno Mars for example. He's written for like a bunch of different artists before he became Bruno Mars. A lot of times it's just to kind of get your foot in the door. You're passionate about music, you have this skill, but yet you're still developing like that actual full artistry persona. So writing, kind of helps you tailor it towards like, hey, this needs to go towards that. It's good for this genre.
Right.
So I've always had a love for just all styles of music.
Did you start with writing first, song or doing songs, or it kind of came together? You did both because you said you was writing for other artists as well too, right?
Yeah.
So what came first, or did it come together?
It definitely writing came first. In a way, reason why I say it came first because like I quickly learned I didn't have like the artistic talent in the booth at the time. So thanks to AI, like y'all don't have to really deal with that.
Facts, right.
Like for before AI was like permitted to be used, like if you just wasn't it in the booth, it was like, bro, what are you doing? Like get out of here, And then being a dope writer, it didn't mean you was a talentless. It just meant like being a dope writer was like, hey, like you can make someone else sound good. Even me as an instrumentalist, me understanding like the fundamentals of like the elements of in the instrumentals, like the beats, you know what I'm saying? Even if I can't play the horn, I know what I want it to sound like. If I can't play like the drums, the one instrument I wish I'm gonna learn it. But all of that kind of, I developed that at a young age. So all of that came into the elements. I'm like, okay, I want this artist to do that, or like I want to ship this to that artist. And it came from my dad too. Rest in peace to him as well. He's written over like 300 songs.
Right. Wow, yo, how many songs do you think you have and you think you've done
that I've written?
Yeah.
Oh God. Man.
Average, just give me like ballpark. What you think you did?
Ballpark, probably around like 200.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
The reason I asked that too, right? Because as the theme of the strategy room, right? And one of the things I strongly believe in is, you really got to put in the hours, and you have to put out the whatever your output is and whatever your field is, right? So if you're an author, it should be books, right? If you're a speaker, it should be speeches. If it's coaching, you should be coaching people, helping people. Whatever you do, artists, if it's songs, whatever it is, right? So because the more that you do it, the better that you get at it, right? And anytime I see someone who has a big following, which you have a big following online, people love you, and a loyal fan base or people who are buying from them or whatever, what I notice is these are people that are dedicated to their craft. You know what I'm saying? And they willing to do the repetitions over and over. So I'm not surprised that you touring, which we're going to get to. You doing the international tour, right? You know what I mean? You doing your music videos. You doing collabs. You meeting with people. You doing interviews. I mean, like you blowing up right now.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? This is it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but I want to acknowledge the work behind it. You know what I mean? And that's part of also what I want to highlight and look at as we do this. So, okay. So, all right. So now you're in, so let's go back. So now you registered as a songwriter. I want to know, when did you actually start seeing some success in this? Where you're like, oh, wow, I feel like this is working. I'm a really, like, when did you start seeing success and confidence in doing this?
Oh, man, that's kind of funny. What really gave me confidence is Atlanta. I got to Atlanta, and this is a funny story, but I feel like when I explain the story, he's gonna remember this. Me and my friends, we just finished modeling rehearsal for the day. We was training at John Casablanca's in Atlanta. And so one of the guys who was in the modeling agency, he had to sing. I think it was called like the Blue Lounge or something like that in Atlanta. And me and my friends, I'm saying, we young, so we just go up in there, we sit down at a table, we here to see him sing. We were broke, like no money at all. The waiter comes up, he's like, "Can I get you guys anything? Any champagne?" It was a nice lounge. And we was like, just some water. He said, "Okay, that'll be $7." He was like, actually, I think I'm good.
Right.
That's just
like $7, right? Nah.
So we're just sitting there with nothing at our table.
Yeah.
And we're dressed kind of down, like we're not dressed elegant, whatever. So to prove a point, like other people walking in, they got their wifey, they boo or whatever. They friend groups, everything. Everyone's dressed like nice shoes, suits on or real nice attire. And we're just sitting there, and we don't realize how out of place we are until people just start sitting at our table. They're like, "What's going on?" And then come to find out, Big Tigger, we're sitting at his table. And so
y'all just come in like, I'm just gonna have a seat at any table. Oh, this looks good. It looks prestige. That's funny. Okay.
Yeah. But we sat down and we were sitting at his table and everything. So he comes around, he's like, "Well, I don't think I know you guys." And we're like, "We know who you are." You know what I'm saying? So we was like, "Oh, snap, like this is your table. I apologize." And we go ahead and get up. And he let us sit down. And that's something that stuck with me like forever in the industry, because it's those moments where like the cameras aren't on you, there's no one important that's really kind of judging how you handle a situation. And he humbly not only let us sit down, like he let us drink with them. And he embraced this. And then, he even let me give him like a sample of what I was working on, like my vocals, a demo, stuff like that. And he was like, I definitely believe you will end up somewhere one day. And he looked like dead in my eyes and said that to me. And that stuck with me, because like after that, I'm saying, you can easily take something like that and you can just be like, "Oh, like what are the odds," kind of thing, whatever. He was just being nice. But at the same time, you can also take it as like that's divine intervention to tell you to keep going, like stay on that path. I was nowhere near as talented at the craft as I am today, but there was a sound that was there, and he heard it, and that kind of stuck with me.
Wow, that's what's up, man. First of all, shout out to Big Tigger for having a pivotal impact on Daniel's career. That's huge. So funny. I actually had a similar moment with one of the top guys in my industry, right? So I deal a lot with online marketing, the coaching industry, speaking industry, basically the education expert industry, right? Where you have an expertise and you train and you teach people on what you do. And then one of the top guys in our industry, the world's number one motivational speaker, shout out to E.T. the hip hop preacher, had a very similar moment with him. where I ended up winning a contest. I was part of the School of Greatness with a guy named Lewis House, who has a major podcast as well. But he had a coaching program. So I went through his program. Long story short, I ended up winning. I ended up doing some of the things that he challenges, and I ended up winning. And I ended up going to one of his events. It just so happened that Dr. Eric Thomas was speaking at that event.
Oh, wow.
Right now, prior to that, we already had some type of relationship because I was always under his posts, giving value, giving comments. So it was it was a familiar thing, but it wasn't like we didn't even meet. We didn't really even meet in person. I don't think up until that point. Anyway, so I ended up meeting him at the event. He had like a meet and greet situation, right?
Yeah.
So I'm waiting in line or whatever, waiting to get to the front, and and when I saw him, he recognized me, so that was one. And we dapped it up, gave each other a big hug. Yo, what's up? Recorded a video. Everything was dope. And I remember talking to him. He was like, I've been watching your content. Yo, keep it up. You up next. And I was like, yo, and this is the number one guy in our industry.
Like
I'm
Eric
like, yo, I was like, yo,
man.
that's crazy, yo. And I was so for me, and I never even told him that. So shout out to Eric Thomas. I never even told you that. But the crazy part is, man, is just that sometimes it takes that one little spark. You know what I mean? And that's why I always try to give encouragement. I always try to just be impactful, because you never know, that just might be the very thing that somebody remembers and say, yo, that's all I needed to hear to really know, yo, I got this. Although I'm going through a hard time, it's challenging. Although I got these people hating on me or whatever, I'm gonna keep moving. You know what I mean? Right. So man, so shout out to you on that. So okay, now you got I want to talk about some of the stuff that you're doing now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it, man. What are some of the things that you're proud of that's cool that you're doing now? I want to hear about the tour. I want to hear about and I want to hear about, actually, let me ask you this first. What do you feel like makes you different? Because you're an R&B artist, right? And there's a lot of R&B artists out there, and you got many that are unknown, and you got your Ushers, your Chris Browns, and so what do you feel like makes you different as an artist?
Essentially, it's kind of funny. Truthfully, what makes me different is that I just really care to be great. And what I mean by really care is, like, you have some people that are like just so talented. It's like, I'm gonna just do this and it's whatever. But then you got those that genuinely care so much, like Tone Stith, you know what I'm saying? Yo Train, and then even the greats, like you got I call him great because I know he will be John Keith. He's he's rising so fast, man, and he's super talented. He's more like in the Christian genre, but definitely really talented guy. And then you got Chris Brown, you got Drake, you got The Weeknd, Miguel. Like, what made them that way is because they genuinely cared, but they cared enough to have the discipline. A big part of that for me is like military service, right? So just learning, like, hey, what it looks like when you fail and don't try and don't care enough about the smallest stuff versus what happens when you take care of just the smallest things and don't so much look at the big things, but look at the small things that you're not being responsible about.
Let's pause. Let's peel the onion back on that, right? I think that's important too for people who are following you or starting to listen to your music, because even after this episode, like, people are going to be, oh, yo, let me check out Daniel, right?
Yeah.
But so let's peel the onion back on that. So what do you do that you feel like, okay, you know what is, I'm not just slapping this thing together. I'm not just slapping songs together. Like, what do you care about that you feel like is a small detail, but it's important to you?
I work for what has to happen. And this is what I mean by that. Respect to everybody that finds their own way to, get to where it is that they need to go. There are those that, they work a 9 to 5, right? And when you're working a 9 to 5, like, there's limitations to that one job. And if you only bank on just that one 9 to 5, it's like, I'm just not getting paid enough. What are you going to go do? Like, you just going to cry at home and just sit there? Or are you going to actually go to work? I think that's a big part of it. Like, do I believe that you have to trap and hustle and scam and all that to make it? No. There's plenty of other healthy, productive ways to reach the audience that you want, but you have to invest into yourself. Like over and over again, I think it's so many talented, gifted people that don't believe in themselves enough to put the money behind it. But I work my tail off, you know what I'm saying, no matter what it has to be, whatever the budget is, whatever is needed. Like my manager, a lot of times she's like, the funds, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gonna get it? I'm gonna get it. Let me know how much it is. I'm gonna have it by that deadline. And that's just, I think, what sets apart. On top of that, I'm in the gym twice a day. I'm working on my craft, like my guitar playing. I'm a student to I still have a guitar instructor. You know, when I was finally
Wow.
able to get one, I got one. I have a vocal instructor. I'm not like, I'm not no Whitney Houston. So I can always get better. That's just how I look at it. Like I'm a student to the craft no matter what it is. My work ethic. I'm always studying like concerts. Like people might be in the car listening to Apple Music or Spotify. I'm on YouTube watching how that guy sound live and what he actually did, you know what I'm saying, in order to like make the crowd like him, and what he did if they didn't like, because we're all a student to the game at the end of the day. And we're learning off of each other. But that's a healthy competitive spirit, you know what I'm saying, that breeds discipline, it breeds hard work ethic, and it breeds motivation. Like, man, like when you get like your supporters and your fans is like, wow, like that was really good. And you like, man, you have no idea I spent 500 hours to get that one riff correct. And then
Yo,
you see the impact and it changes your whole life from what Eminem, like he talks about in his music. You know what I'm saying? Like you only got one shot and that shot shows up. And that shot might have been just 10 seconds. Change your whole life, 500 hours of practice. The
man,
magic
that's
number is 10,000 hours to perfect something.
yo, that's so important, man. As I think about, I've saw Lil Wayne interviews where literally he like lives in the studio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've heard of Kanye staying in the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
We've I mean, so many different people, artists, that they really take. I remember hearing a story years ago, probably over a decade ago, where Beyonce didn't eat for like 3 days. She was like
Yeah.
preparing for a show. You know what I mean? And that's just music. Like you could look at anybody in any craft who's at the top of any field, and they put in the hours, and not just put in the hours. They actually try to get better because you know what I mean? Because you can keep hitting your head over and over and over,
Mm-hmm.
doing the same things or trying to hit the same notes, but you're not actively trying to get better. Kobe would
Right.
shoot 500 jump shots before a game.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? It's like is the active is that part of it that makes it different, and that's what makes you different. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I feel that when you say I really care, because a lot of people that's just trying to get in, or because they want the clout, they want the fame, they want to try
Mm-hmm.
to they want to try to make money. But if you don't have a love for it and a care for it, you're not gonna stick through the hard times. You're not gonna stick through when there's three people at your show.
Yeah.
You're not gonna stick through when you gotta invest in a music video. You know what I'm saying? You gotta hop in your car. You gotta hop in a bus to go tour. Like this is the real behind the deal.
Hey,
I know artists like this is the real deal.
the three people at my show was real though, bruh. That's a true story, and it's
Mm-hmm.
funny. It was a little bit more than three. I'd say maybe like 15,
Mm-hmm.
but I put like $600 into this venue. Advertised, did everything I could. Bless the guy's heart who was trying to manage me at the time. I think he had good intentions, but like it was empty, so empty, and it was such a loss. And I spent like $600 of money I don't have. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's one thing like when you got it, you know what I'm saying? It's like yeah, like I'm good. six hundred
Mm-hmm.
dollars of money that you just don't have, and it just turned into nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, yeah, I'm gonna keep doing this anyway. And you perform up there like you had thousands of fans out there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just.
That's it. That's it right there.
But
That's it.
I cried after. I'm not you know what I'm saying? I'm not too prideful to, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a man's man, but at the end of the day, like I cried, you know what I'm saying? I was like, man, like that's disheartening. But
Mm-hmm.
what God has for you is for you.
Yeah, that man, that's so powerful, man. It's so crazy because as you're talking, I keep getting, like I keep getting flashbacks of my own experiences doing this. I remember, so I've been doing a lot of webinars, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
since really I got into the coaching consultant field in like 2015 is like when I started getting into it, man. For years and years, man. I mean, I've had people. I've said, yo, I promoted like, yo, this is gonna be the best. So right, and I'm like, so I remember this one webinar, like an online masterclass that you do, you know, like a virtual masterclass. I remember doing that and I had it was this topic I was speaking on, and this was around Beyonce's she had like the On the Run tour. So I'm like, yo, cool. I said, yo, let me just use this to get people to, you know what I'm saying, to get people to come on. I wasn't even thinking I should probably get two, because who's gonna, like, you know, want to go by themselves. So I just bought one ticket or whatever, and I'm like, yo, this is gonna be the thing that's gonna get so many people on. I'm about to get hundreds of people on, and I'm going to train them. This is gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
Right. So the time comes on, right, and I'm waiting. And actually, this was during the time where they had what they call a free conference call. So it was a conference call. So Zoom wasn't even like hot yet.
Yeah.
So so I'm on this call, and you know, so it's the time, nobody shows up. 5 minutes, nobody's on. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I'm feeling sad. I was sweating. I'm like, man, it's one, and this is the worst. The worst is like when you're like, all right, nobody on, so I could just click off. But one person showed up. I'm like, damn, I gotta do it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so nobody showed up to your show, like, I ain't gotta do the show. Yeah. But it's like, damn, even if it's like one person there, you still gotta, like, they came out. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So now it's like, I gotta do it. Yeah. And yo, I did a whole 1 hour training, and was literally just her. Actually, I had my girl at the time. Like, yo, can you please get on? I just wanted to hear somebody else's voice on here. Yeah. So I had her get on and say a couple of things. But yo, it was crazy. You know what I mean? So now, and then there was another thing. So now, remember, I got this ticket, and I'm like, the whole thing was supposed to be a raffle. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, this one person is gonna win. Trying to act like there's a lot of people. Who's gonna win? The very lucky winner.
And the one person watching.
There you go. You know what I mean? So I said her name, Sasha. I forgot what name, but I said her name. She's like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I really appreciate it." He's like, "Yo, this was the best trainer ever." Yeah. And it was in that moment. That was the moment for me. That was like, it don't matter how many people you're impacting. Always give it your all.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. And I mean, that kind of also lets me know. It makes me think of like a time where South Carolina, right? So that area, you know what I'm saying, just didn't get that much love, you know, and it wasn't that I wasn't talented, but a lot of times, like, people try to like force themselves to be loved in an area that they're not supposed to be in. I'm not like, I guess, like what one would say, like a holy roller per se, but one thing that I did remember, like, I read like the Bible, and like God kind of talked about, like, hey, like, when you're on an assignment, like, you get up and you leave the area and you go far off. And even God himself, he was like, hey, like, you know, in this area that I was born and raised in, or this area that, you know, I was a kid and growing up in, they're not going to really receive you. You know, and it's a perception there. Like, it's one thing, like, me meeting you where you're at now versus me meeting you at 4 years old or 7 years old, 10, wherever, and seeing all of the ridiculous decisions that was made, you know what I'm saying, versus seeing the professionalism that you stand on now. So it's perception there. So then, like, me going to Atlanta and getting like much more love, and then me going to Texas, getting a significant amount of love, and going to California, that's love yet. And then me going to Tennessee, and then going to New York, biggest support I've had, New York. You know what I'm saying? Like, so to say that is just like, and it's not to say those areas didn't really support, but people will only like support you based upon the level that they see you at, the vision that they have for you. And I think that's just important to really believe in. You have to, it's almost kind of crazy. Like, you have to believe in yourself significantly beyond what anyone outside of you believe in, because you're the convicting factor. If someone else outside of you believes in you more than you do, you're probably not gonna make it.
That's heavy. Yeah, that's heavy. You're right, man. Because especially as you start to become more and more successful in your craft, you know, the more successful you become, the more of a target you become. Right. And, you know, and part of fame, part of being in the spotlight is you're going to get criticized. You're going to get judged. People, you know, you putting your life on display, but that comes with the territory.
And it's crazy you say that, because so artists I really look up to in the craft, Bryson Tiller. I mean, I thought Buddy was dope, like, since he came out with music, like Trap Soul and Exchange, you know what I'm saying? Like, and every project after, I'm like, man, like, dude dropping gems all the time. And he got so much criticism for Trap Soul. And he talks about in his interviews. and he got into like this great depressive state. It all went to his head. He talks about this in his interviews. He talked about like, you know, all this success was kind of happening, but he was getting so much criticism, like he got real depressed. He didn't want to make music no more. He was tired of it. He didn't want to be famous. He didn't want to, and it's just like even Chris Brown, the mistake he made, you know, as a teenager, and it followed this man his whole career to where like he can't make a great song without someone saying, "Oh, but you did this though." Even Drake, you know what I'm saying? Like just the ridicules and the jokes that they make about this man, dude's just being himself and growing as an adult. But they send him at a certain stage and then send him graduating to himself and like, you're not being yourself. And it's like, wait, is he? You know, like who are we to judge who's a person true authentic self actually is?
Right, right. You know, it's interesting. Yeah. I mean, with that is everybody, you can't name an artist right now that did not receive criticism. Facts. Think about it. There's no artist, male or female, that at some point in their career, they got some criticism.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you just know that got to come with the territory. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I find, because I used to take stuff to heart too, like when I was younger.
Do you look at comments now? How do you feel about how do you feel about?
I'm not gonna lie, so I'm trying to get out of this, but like on my Instagram, like I haven't said no one can comment ever.
Why is that?
Because like right now, that's how I have it in my settings, and like people are like, man, like I'll get inbox messages and stuff like, I want to comment, you know, I want to comment on whatever, and I'm just, I mean, if you got something to say, hit me up in my inbox. I think I'll probably end up changing it, you know, at some point. TikTok, you know, it's kind of everyone can comment kind of thing. I think Instagram kind of got like that because.
Now, why is that though? You didn't say why you turned off the comments.
Yeah, like I think I've just gotten certain people that just say the most outlandish stuff like out of nowhere. Like, buddy don't know you from a can of paint, and just say some wild, crazy something, and it's like, yeah, I really don't want to see that. You know, so for my own inner peace and stuff, my own just like thought process and protecting my own energy, I don't have to allow you to say anything. You know, I have that capability to do that. Do I feel like Instagram forces people to feel like they have to allow that energy in? Yeah, because like the algorithm, you know, analytics, how many people are coming and who's saying what or whatever. I think it's great when you have someone that manages the page for you. Like, the artist never has to look at it. They keep their own energy. They get the reaction from the fans, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately, like, I think social media is taking a hold on people's psyche too much. Because at the end of the day, if you're worth criticizing, you probably got something worth appreciating.
I got one more question for you, yeah. and then you know, I want you to share some of the things that you know that you're excited about right now. Are you leveraging AI right now at all? Are you using it?
Like in what sense? Like
I mean,
music,
I mean, I'm just curious, like in any kind of way, maybe you know, musically, you know, creative ideas. I'm just curious to know because you know it's going to impact, you know, it's impacting music a lot moving forward. So,
I'll say. Yeah. So yeah, I do. I utilize AI in this sense. I test my brain against AI's brain. So, and I think a lot of artists are starting to do this and fine tune like their skills to keep us a step ahead of generic stuff. You can, for example, you can create lyrics, right? And you can put into AI and you have a choice. Make this better in the style of such and such. Or you can use AI and be like, hey, rate what this is about. You can put in the BPM, all the type of stuff, and what you're saying and how it's being worded, and ask AI to rate it, and also give you pointers on how to make it better without it making it better for you. I think that's a great tool because it keeps you educated. It keeps you, and it challenges you to grow and better. AI is like the brain of like God knows how many people in the world combined into one. So you're getting all like millions of people brain into what you just did. So the way now is like, hey, do this like this. Hey, if you do this like this, then, you know, I'll rate it again. That still wasn't it. I'll rate it again. You know, like how many of us pay like $1,000 an hour just to sit down and talk to somebody for like 10 minutes to tell me why I'm bad? You know, but like you got AI for free to like criticize your work already over and over and over, and it doesn't get tired over and over and over again. So it's like, that's a hit.
There you go. I love it. Let's go. Let's go. All right. So what do you got going on? So what do you got going on now? I'm excited to hear about the tour. What are some things that you got going on that you're excited about?
I got a hot single that's about to hit everywhere.
Hey.
Yeah, we up all night with it. That's the name of the song, Up All Night. That hot single is going to be coming out pretty soon. By the time this interview drops, it probably will be out circulating. A lot of people going to be spinning it, DJs, all that type of stuff. I am going on tour, and it's going to be great, man. I'm super excited. Just for you guys to meet me, the band that I'm working with, new projects. Me and Wonder, we got some newer things, and you even heard this stuff yet, but we already working ahead of the game. So like, I'm super excited. You know, I'm really blessed to have such a great team.
All right, yeah. So my guy Daniel Benson, let's go.